She underwent a heart transplant, yet no one talks about both the gratitude and the grief that comes along with that entire process. Today, I sit down with Elsa Chau to talk about her journey of the heart. Elsa, so we met several years ago in the support group. Tell me about your heartquake story.
Well, I have two heartquake stories,
Yes.
but my first one was my first diagnosis, where my heart just felt like it was flip-flopping and it wasn't really beating right. So I ended up in the ER. The nurses were glad it wasn't a heart attack, but that just led to a full week of a hospital stay where they did different tests on me. And at the end, it was determined I had heart failure, which I don't like failing. So right away it was, what can I do? I'm going to win. I'm going to win heart failure,
Yeah.
which in my case, it wasn't going to happen. 3 months later, after trying some medication to improve my symptoms, I had an ICD put in, which is an internal defibrillator. So the wires go straight into your heart. So if my heart ever stopped beating or went out of rhythm, then it would shock me internally back into rhythm, which the doctor thought it would never happen. He thought it'll just be a little lifeguard on your shoulder. I lived that way for 4 great, wonderful years.
And no shocks.
No shocks. I finally was into this rhythm of, okay, enjoy life, live your life.
Totally.
And then year 5 started with a shock. At first, it was just a buzz, and I thought, okay, that felt weird. Went back to sleep. And then the next month, another shock. And then a call from the hospital saying I'd received a shock because the machine sends a signal back to the main headquarters, which then notifies the hospital that you've been shocked. Then you need to go into the ER so they can do a workup and check you out. And that just started the first of many. For that next year, I was in and out of the hospital pretty much every other month. Every 2, 3 weeks, I'd receive a shock, and then I'd go back into the hospital. And each time I just started getting weaker and weaker and trying to figure out what was wrong or what I could do. And my son just said, it's like you sprained an ankle. You sprained your heart. Now you need to give it time to heal. And it just felt like each time I was just slowly declining. And it got to the point where my cardiologist said, get your affairs in order and spend time with your family. And I remember sitting there. At this point, I was going to my hospital visits. I wasn't able to drive anymore, couldn't dress myself, couldn't bathe myself. I was dependent on my caregiver for a lot of those things, which was really hard when you're independent. And I remember sitting there thinking, no, like my whole body just resonated. No, this is not possible. Not now. I have things to do. I can't be this way. It was a big shock. A big shock. That quake kind of rumbled through the family. We did gather together and we kind of hunkered down for a good month. Just lived, played a lot of board games, just communal meals. And then I was referred to the advanced heart failure clinic. And that cardiologist gave me hope. He shook his head and he thought, I don't know why he would have said that. There's other things we could do. And at that point, I'd started researching also. So I was being worked up for what they call an LVAD, which is going to be kind of a mechanical heart that does all the pumping for you. And we did all the research on that because you constantly have to be wired 24/7. And you can't be without power for more than, I think it's 4 hours. We'd done all the research. We were prepared. We had our backup generators ready to go. And I went into the hospital that beginning of the new year in January. It was determined my heart was too weak. There was no way it would take the machine. And then it was, now what? And the next thing was transplant, which in my wildest dreams, I to this day, I can't even believe that that was the solution.
Yeah.
Actually, they call it a therapy because it's not a fix. You're not fixed after heart transplant. And I waited in the hospital for 6 weeks.
Wow.
I'm O negative, so the chances of finding a heart that would match mine, because everything has to match perfectly. Antibodies, science has this, checklist that it needs for that organ to thrive in the new body. And after 6 long weeks, I'd already resigned myself to be there a year. I was going to learn French. I was going to play the banjo. I was going to learn all these skills while I was waiting in the hospital. And they found a match. So I received a call February 25th, 2023, that a match had been found and that they were going to prepare me for transplant.
Wow.
And after waiting 3 long days for the process to take place, then on February 28th, I went into the hospital, and that became my second heartquake, where now trying to define your life or live your life with this new organ inside you. The night before transplant, I said goodbye to my old heart. I thanked her for everything she'd done for me up to that point. Kind of just tried to come up with my own like ceremony, to say goodbye and Marie Kondo it, thank you. And after transplant, I just welcomed my new heart. I said, girl, we're in this together now. I didn't know anything about my donor. But thanks to somebody who unselfishly said yes, and chose life, I'm here today. And it's still a long road, but I'm doing it, and I'm not just living for myself. I'm also living for my donor.
Right.
She's only 27 years old. And I just thought there's a lot of things she's not going to be able to see. So I try to do that now and honor her that way. So any chance to do something to step out of my comfort zone, I say yes. I've done interviews, I've gone on trips, I've done hikes that I didn't think were possible. All because I think I'm doing this now, not just for me, but living this life for someone else as well.
Could it be that your heartquake actually became a gift?
As odd as it sounds, yes.
Yeah.
This is a club I joined that I never wanted. You would never be a part of it. Heart disease, yes, sure, I'll take it. But because of it, it's just opened another world for me. In terms of meeting people and talking to others who have their own heartquake stories. And trying to help them navigate through it. So I do a lot of volunteer work with my Women Heart organization, trying to just understand and help others kind of navigate. When I was first diagnosed, I was scared. I just had this fear, and I still have it to a degree, because you never know when that beautiful, wonderful day is going to be your last.
Totally.
So then you just kind of live your day stringing together beautiful, wonderful days, because that's the point of life, is to enjoy it, to live it, to experience it.
Tell me what it was like being told that you were needing a heart transplant.
I didn't believe it. Like, the words were there. I knew I was sick, but I couldn't believe I was that sick. During my hospital stay, there's a list before they can list you on UNOS, which is the United Transplant List. And you have to meet all this criteria. So it was a lot of tests. And one of the meetings you have to have is with your surgeon. So here he comes in, 6'2", eyes of blue, dreamy. What dreamy is what we call
You got to make dreamy.
Very.
That's fun.
And skilled.
Okay, there we go.
So he sat down, we started talking, and I asked him, just describe it, like what? And he just said, we're going to go in, we're going to disconnect your original heart, and we're going to connect the other. And I'm like, oh, kind of like swapping out an engine. So I think because he was just so frank and just so like matter of fact, it gave me like the confidence.
Okay.
Like that, okay, if he's this sure about it, then I'm this sure about it.
Oh, good.
And that's how I felt about my whole care team there at the hospital. Anything they would recommend, I just said, I just felt it though. I totally could trust them.
So you intuitively knew it. I have this word called heart sense.
Okay.
I feel like we have more than the five senses, right? The taste, touch, feel, hear, see. I think that there's also, like, everyone talks about this sixth sense.
Yeah.
But I think there's a seventh sense also. I think
I like
it's your
that.
heart sense. It's like your intuition, your intuitive knowingness that comes from your heart. Now, you were talking to us about how you received the heart of a 27-year-old girl.
Yes.
And do you feel that heart sense or that intuition has shifted at all? Or what are your thoughts now that you have this new heart and you have this new lease on life?
I just feel a lot more open to things, and a lot, I don't want to say slower, meaning like I move slower like the sloth in that movie, but in terms of just a greater appreciation for many things. I don't want to say everything. Because some things are still annoying. But in terms of just like valuing, I think the experience is a lot more. Whereas before you're just in that, grind of going to work, and I was a teacher, so it was a lot of grading and planning, and everything was a learning experience. So I never shut it off. But that was also joy and beauty and learning and education and knowledge, which is what I like to do. I'm very curious. So since the transplant, it has just been like another world in terms of learning about how to live with your heart transplant, that you just don't bounce right back. There's still a lot of, what we don't share, what we don't talk about, a lot of emotional, a lot of mental, trying to live with this gratitude and grief is just, it's a hard line to walk. And that sometimes that emotional toll takes its toll, and you have to learn how to care for yourself, not just medically by making sure you're taking all your medications at the right time and you're exercising and eating right, but then also just taking time to take care of your mental health,
So
which is
tell me more about the gratitude and grief.
gratitude and grief. For me to be here today, to
Yeah.
be able to talk to you, to be able to be in this beautiful space, somebody had to lose their life.
Yeah.
And somebody had to make that decision because it can't. In their darkest moment, they said yes. They said, yes, we want someone else to live. And I think just knowing that that transpired, still makes me feel just this immense sadness. But then also in that sadness, then it's the joy
Yeah.
because now it's not just that I get to live on, but she gets to live on. And I think that's the greatest legacy that somebody can do,
Yeah.
is to give. When we do that, that connects to our human, our humanness, if that's a word.
No, it's
It just
beautiful.
makes it that's the beauty of life
Yeah.
is this sharing, this communal, this way we unite ourselves, and I think that that's coming into knowing all of that and being aware of that, and then taking that and being able to share with others. I think that's
Yeah. From the patient perspective, you got the medical perspective, right? What is it like being a patient undergoing a heart transplant surgery? What do people need to prepare for, or what do they need to know?
I think the biggest way you can prepare is to inform yourself, is to educate yourself. I did a lot of that. I was doing a lot of research, a lot of Googling, a lot of YouTube videos, so that I was aware of what was going to happen to me. Not the actual procedure, because for some reason my brain said, no, you don't need to know that. But the one thing that freaked me out, of course, was intubation. So I knew that that would be the eventuality, but I just kind of took it in stride. A lot of it is just like the advice the doctor gave me, get your affairs in order. So I did a lot of, decluttering ahead of time. I just tried to let go of things, let go of people that weren't really benefiting my emotional or mental state at the time. And that was hard too, because some of it was family. And I just had to say, I can't do this right now. I have to really focus on me. And I'm not a selfish person at all. So
I know
doing
you.
that
I've known you
was
for many years.
really
So that's
hard.
boundaries
Right,
and
setting
clearing out
boundaries,
space.
exactly. I have a problem with boundaries,
Yeah.
but I'm learning how to do that, not just for your own,
So you're
health.
putting yourself first.
Yeah, which has been itself in itself a journey. I think the best way to prepare, again, like I said, is knowledge, is getting informed, is knowing your particular case, because not everybody will end up needing a heart transplant. Anybody with cardiomyopathy or some type of heart failure, some of it can be reversed. But I did the research and I thought, not in my case.
Right.
So then I had to just resign myself to that. And I think sometimes just being aware that there are things you can't control and you just have to trust and you just have to put it out there and hope that things will be different. I was really diligent about my medications and I knew which ones I was on, what the doses were, which ones affected me and how they affected me. So I was able to communicate to my healthcare team, which ones work best.
And I think that's the most important thing also that I try as a patient advocate is I try to educate people because you're going to be a better patient when you are educated yourself. And I do need to share with our audience watching right now that I do have cardiomyopathy as well. So mine was dilated cardiomyopathy. Yours is hypertrophic, right? But you can still, you might have a transplant or you might be in maintenance or it might be healed.
Years, right?
So exactly. So being diagnosed with heart failure is not a death sentence. I tell people
Exactly.
that because I
Right,
think
right.
that's really important because getting that diagnosis of heart failure for the first time, your first heartquake is scary, right? Like I think that's traumatizing unto itself.
Yeah.
I mean, just the terminology, the language they use, right? It's like,
The other is to know what your diagnosis is and be able to
Right.
pronounce it.
Exactly.
I would break down cardio, heart, myo, and I just,
Yes.
okay, I understand what it is now. And I would break down all, because there are a lot Greek rooted terms, I would break them all down.
Yeah,
I
but
taught
that's
my
important
students
being
at
a
school.
patient.
Right.
Yes. You have to inform, you have to educate yourself and understand what you're living with because the problem is, and you had such a great team, it sounds like, but they come to the support group and it's like, you just put your blind faith, you put your faith in these doctors, yet so often people are misdiagnosed or they aren't heard and valued as a
Right, right.
patient. So it's really important that we educate people.
Yeah, 'cause
So
I spent 2 years where nothing was going on with me. And it wasn't until one of my nurse practitioners said, you need to go to this advanced heart failure clinic. And I thought,
Yeah.
wait, there's one that exists. Why am I not there? Why wasn't I there last year? And then once I got there, it was changing medications and trying different therapies to at least maintain what little heart function I had.
Right.
And then of course that led to being recommended for a heart transplant. But I think I would also journal. Every time I'd go into the doctor's office, I had in my little notebook, I would list my questions and I would fill in the answers and then I would think about it and then follow up with an email to the doctor.
That's such
So
good
I
advice.
just kept that dialogue, that communication
Yes.
open.
Proactive,
Yeah.
advocate for yourself,
Right. Yeah.
and also ask if you can tape record them, right? Tape
Right.
record
Right.
the
Right.
doctor or bring someone in with you because so often we're in the middle of our heartquake, we're in the middle of being a patient that we can't remember what was said 5 minutes
Right.
ago.
Right.
So, Elsa, take us back to that moment when you were told you needed a heart transplant. How did that feel in that moment?
Again, it was unbelievable. I mean, to this day, I can't believe that I went through it. Because I knew it was an eventuality, I just thought, TV and, that kind of attitude. Oh, it's just that easy or it's that simple, and not realizing how delicate the whole process is. You have to be sick enough, but well enough to undergo the surgery because they move all your internal organs. I think some still are just haven't shifted back into my body. And then, of course, the toll it's going to take on your body. So I've been working for the past 2 years post-transplant, just rebuilding my core. I had gotten so weak. I couldn't, pre-transplant, I couldn't even walk 6 steps without needing to stop and take a breath. And I would ask myself, am I being dramatic? Am I really this far gone? But that was just my reality.
So, tell us some of the symptoms that you had. How did you feel?
I used to walk the track at lunchtime at work. I worked at a high school. And every time I come back in from lunch, I had this like just burning pain in my chest. And I thought, oh, what did I have for lunch? It must have been whatever I ate at lunch. Never putting the two together that pain was my heart.
Wow.
And that went on for months, like I said. So I didn't even pay attention to the symptoms. The fatigue that you mentioned, just being exhausted, I had it. Sometimes being just where food made you nauseous and not thinking about it or not having that appetite, never thought about it. So when it finally all came to pass, when I started to nearly faint in a Trader Joe's, then that's when I thought,
Wow.
okay, this is serious.
Yeah.
If that pump ain't pumping,
Yes.
you're not getting the oxygen to your brain.
Yeah. And the first time you told me about this swishing, can you explain that?
The best I could describe it was like a flip-flop of the heart.
Okay.
Like it wasn't pumping, it didn't feel right. There was no other pain associated with other than like I said, after exercise
Right.
where I would feel that tightness, but my heart just felt floppy and loose and
Mhm.
lazy, and I just knew, okay, this isn't right.
Yeah.
I was dressed and ready to go to Pilates that morning when I finally decided, okay, let's change course and go to the ER.
Okay.
And even then I had to be talked into it
Wow.
because I thought they're going to say it's nothing,
Yeah.
not realizing that, no, it was something. The other issues I had pre-transplant were ventricular tachycardia, which is where your heart is just beating, just beating, 130, 140, maybe 150 beats per minute. And the feeling just felt like, you're on that roller coaster and you're going up, 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 and you're just beating crazy. And then all of a sudden it was a big whoosh.
Right.
So it was just a buildup of, blood pumping through my heart and then all of a sudden getting to where it needed to be. So that would happen quite often. And again, I didn't think this was problematic. I didn't mention it to the cardiologist. It was my
Even if you
family.
think it's nothing, you have to mention it to the cardiologist.
Even my son was like, Mom, this is an issue. Post-transplant, I had taken a trip to visit my son and my granddaughter,
Oh.
which I'm able to do now after transplant. And I just felt this real tight, kind of weird pain in my chest. I mentioned it to the family, and right away they were, you're going to the doctor.
Good.
But when I mentioned to them, after transplant, you're what they call denervated. So you really won't have the symptoms like you would normally until I guess things grow back and connect. Post-transplant, it's been a little more, I've had to be a lot more cautious, but then also not be too worrisome
Okay.
about certain aches and pains because a lot of my muscles and a lot of just the sternum, trauma that I went through also had to heal.
Right.
So you do have to kind of relax a little, but then also be on guard,
Okay.
in regards to any like symptoms or weirdness that you
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah. Amazing. Just really connect and tune into your heart sense, into your body.
Exactly.
So now, Elsa, you've been part of our support group for how many years now? I mean, since your first diagnosis, probably, right?
2017.
So
I found you.
2017, yes.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited to announce to everyone that now you are going to have a support group, or you have your own support group,
Yes,
but it's Spanish speaking.
Yes, it's entirely in Spanish, also bilingual.
Okay,
You
great.
know, and every once in a while it's Spanglish because Elsa's a part of it.
Yeah. Amazing.
What I would notice when I would go in for my clinic appointments,
Yeah.
so I'd be sitting there in the room, and again, I'd tune into everything, notice things,
Yeah.
and I would hear patients in the other rooms, you know, struggling to communicate to their cardiologist in Spanish. Then I would hear the cardiologist struggling to communicate with what little Spanish they had, you know, what their symptoms were, what the medications were for. And I would be sitting there and I'd think, ask them this, you know,
Yeah.
find out what the side effect of that, or this medication's, you know,
Right.
hard on your body. And I just felt, no, we needed some advocacy there.
Yeah.
So I was trained as a women heart champion in 2023, 9 months after my
I
transplant.
know, you're amazing, because that's an intense experience going through the Women Heart training program. So,
It is.
yeah.
And I was still struggling with, you know, walking and my balance and just
Yeah.
so many things to, you know, to think about. But I used it as kind of like my own motivation, like
Yeah.
my own independence. I needed to regain it.
Right.
And I needed that just control over myself and not
Right.
constantly be, you know, telling everybody where I was or what I was going, where I was going, what I was doing, because I was so afraid of something happening to me and then them not knowing where I was.
Right.
So I was constantly letting them know everything, but I needed to do it for myself.
Mm.
I needed to be able to feel empowered. And that's what the Women Heart Symposium did for me.
Yes.
And then in there, I thought, okay, everyone's talking about their support groups and outreach. And I thought, we need one for women who speak another language.
I like
You
it.
know, and my skill is Spanish. So that's where I thought, you know, this is something that I could do, that I could give back.
It's amazing.
And it's taken a while because there's a lot of planning involved and there's a lot of, okay, how is this going to look?
Yes.
And so I teamed up with another member from Texas,
Great.
Miss Franny, and we both kind of, you know, put out a plan and kind of started to sketch it out. And then this year we picked up another Women Heart Champion from Colorado. Our meetings are held the third Thursdays.
Okay.
They're over Zoom.
Every
so
so third Thursdays every month
third
on
Thursday
Zoom.
month on
Okay.
Zoom, and we're able to tune in from all over the United States.
Great.
And this way we can help provide that support for other women.
Amazing. And how can people find you?
People can find us on the Women Heart website. So
Great.
that's www.womenheart.org.
Yes.
And please go there. There's plenty of resources for women. When I was first diagnosed, there wasn't very many. And I found Women Heart, and I want to say pretty much Women Heart saved my...
They're amazing.
Yeah.
I hope we
Saved
helped
my
you
life,
some
saved
too
my
with our
family.
support,
Definitely.
our support group.
With the support group, because you meet so many women with different types of heart disease, and you think like yours is the worst. Your
Right.
experience was so harrowing. Then you meet other women and you think, yeah, again, like women, right? We tend to minimize our experiences because we meet someone else who went through something totally different.
Yeah.
You know, we wonder, would I have had the mettle to do that?
Yeah.
Would I have been able to survive what they did?
Yeah.
You know, so it's really amazing to hear and share our stories and to support one another. I had, you know, people just supporting me and sending me messages and emailing me and just letting me know they were there.
Yeah.
I know, and I remember joining one of the first Women Heart meetings because I'd been so sick I hadn't been able to go. And I was in my hospital gown, and you were the first one to notice, hold on.
Yes, I was like, Elsa, and you
Where
came
are
on
you?
our group. You came into our meeting.
And I needed it at the moment. I needed to be connected. And just recently I went to another meeting because I hadn't been in a while. Now I have grandkids, so sometimes they come over Monday night, and it's always hard to make the meeting. But I was able to go, and I just felt so
held.
like at peace, held, yes. I just felt so comforted. It was almost like this imaginary, you know, way I was just being carried like throughout my process. But then also when I go to a meeting, and you just leave feeling so much like you can do so much more to do, and you're okay.
Yeah.
You know, you're gonna be fine.
And you are. And we're so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for you. And thank you for teaching me about gratitude and grief. That's so powerful. Estás enseñando un grupo en español para ayudar gente con enfermedades de corazones, ¿sí?
Sí.
Is that okay?
Sí, sí. Nos llamamos hermanas de corazón.
Oh,
so not just sister heart, but hermanas de corazón, because in our culture, corazón means so much. Corazón is our love. Corazón is our, you know, our connection to other people. And corazón is what you hold, you know, dear. So hermanas de corazón kind of just communicates that feeling of, You are being held. You are in a space where, you will be supported. We're going to listen. We're going to be there for you, to help you through this scary process.
it is.
Scary
It's a
time in
process.
your life, scary journey.
Yeah.
But I think with others, that journey's a lot easier.
Thanks for watching Heartquake Media. Make sure you check out our website and social media for more information on heart healthy living. Wellness begins with your heart.